help us understand if and how this could all impact this high-profile case. We're joined now by Kim Wehle, a professor at the American University Washington College of Law. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. What kinds of implications could this have on the outcome of the Heard-Depp trial?
Well, it looks like from her motion, the goal would be to get a mistrial declared and get a brand new trial and a brand new jury to start over. I think she has a very high hurdle to overcome to achieve that, but it's not impossible.
Do you think that there's a chance that the verdict could be overturned?
As I said, I think it's highly unlikely because she has to prove a couple things. One, that this juror was somehow biased against her. And two, that it prejudiced the outcome, that if this hadn't happened, that maybe the verdict wouldn't have been in the direction against her. Really difficult to achieve both of those things. I think it's going to come down to whether this judge is at least willing to interview the juror, to find out whether the juror came to the jury panel with knowing that he wasn't who he said he was, and with some kind of malintent or ulterior motive, some kind of bias against her. But again, judges don't like to disturb jury verdicts. So just because something was not proper or maybe not optimal or even a little worse than that, maybe even misconduct, isn't normally enough to throw away the entire verdict. So I think she has a very high hill to climb, and frankly, her brief was pretty skimpy. Johnny Depp's response was much more substantive legally. So, in that regard as well, I'm not sure she's on the best possible footing to get a brand new trial.
Who's at fault here? It seems like there would be a lot of checks and balances to prevent this kind of thing from happening.
Exactly, and Depp's lawyers make that argument. They say, listen, you got the list of the jurors, and it had birthdays on it, and you admit in your paper that the person who showed up was in his 50s, not in his 70s. The person who was called was in his 70s. On the other hand, it looks like from the rules that when you show up for jury service in Virginia, you can show a Social Security card. You don't have to show ID that has an actual birthday. So I think her argument is, well, yeah, we should have checked, but the system failed me. But again, just the system failing as a technicality isn't going to get her the relief that she's seeking. And I think Depp also makes an argument that, you know, it was on her lawyers to double check it, not just the clerk and, you know, counsel and the judge here. The question will, again, come down to whether this judge decides to at least give her a hearing on this, at least allow her to probe this, to see if there was something nefarious about the fact that this juror apparently showed up for a long trial under the guise of being another family member with the same name living in the same home who was 20 years older.
And would you say that this is a desperate or a legitimate legal maneuver?
I think desperate is a bit unfair here. This is a legitimate legal maneuver. Arguably, her lawyers had some responsibility for, under the rules. It looks like it's their responsibility to make sure that the juror list matches up with the people in front of them. On the other hand, there are many people involved in this very high-profile trial. It was tried in the court of public opinion. I think if I represented her, I'd make that strong argument. Listen, there was a higher potential that the jurors came to this trial with a bias one way or the other, and the verdict arguably suggests that the facts didn't match up with the outcome. That is, you know, all that she had to do was show there was one instance of abuse, and that it wouldn't have been defamatory. This was not about putting Johnny Depp in prison or even charging him with any kind of crime or any civil liability. He's the one who sued her, and all she had to show was one time that there might have been some domestic violence, and arguably she did do that, and the jury nonetheless found for him. So the atmospherics of it, I think, are in her favor, but again, I think it's very unlikely that this verdict will be disturbed.
Professor Kim Wehle, we thank you so much for your insight. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.